Who are the biggest trash talkers in the NBA? Draymond for sure, KD for sure. Low-key, Luka Doncic. Low-key is I'm definitely somewhere up there.
If you talk to him, he gonna talk that to you.
He's cold, man.
He not backing down. He not backing down. I'm not gonna say what he said just because that don't need to get out.
Right.
Some of the that I've heard him say.
Don't do that.
But he a cold killer with some of the that I've heard him say.
In a game that is known for its fierce and competitive rivalries, trash talking has since been a tradition in the NBA. One might even say that it adds flavor to the game. Not every player trash talks, but they let their performance do the talking. Being the type of player that he is, Luka tries to get every advantage he possibly can, and he has done it since a very young age. He is very competitive and tries to make his opponents uncomfortable in every way he can, and he adds most to his already done damage by talking some extra trash. When his opponents are trying to return the favor, they seem to light up the fire even more, as that is when Luka gets it going the most for him. Let's see some of the experiences players have had to face when they tried talking trash to Luka Doncic. The Detroit Pistons have been one of the worst teams in the league for the past couple of seasons. However, in a game between them and the Dallas Mavericks, the Pistons managed to keep it close and interesting until the very end, so Luka had to pull out a move to get some advantage. Luka Doncic made a little detour toward the Detroit Pistons bench during their timeout. He approached Pistons assistant coach Allen to offer a few parting thoughts, punctuating a conversation that had continued throughout the game, an exchange that was extended as they barked at each other while Doncic slowly backpedaled toward the Dallas bench. As the discussion ended, Doncic laughed and cracked up a big smile. How did this game turn out? A Dallas win and a 53 points masterpiece performance for Luka. After the game, Luka was asked why there was tension between him and Allen, to which he replied,
That was from the first quarter. He was just chirping. I don't want to say the words, but I have no problem with that. It's basketball. Gets me going for sure.
On the other hand, the head coach of the Detroit Pistons at the time, Dwayne Casey, didn't seem to think much of the situation, considering he had coached some of the game's biggest trash talkers.
It's a bunch of nothing. We've seen worse. You remember I coached Gary Payton, so and Kevin Garnett. So that tonight was zero as far as chirping was concerned. I like it. I thought that it really got us going, and it's the way it should be. With competitive guys, Doncic is competitive as heck. I love it. I love the way he plays, the way he carries himself, and I love the way our guys responded. They didn't step. They weren't intimidated. So it's all good. It was clean. There was nothing dirty about it.
At the end of the day, it is all about getting a competitive advantage in a respectable and sportsmanlike way, and both Luka and Dwayne Casey are aware of that. Luka has gotten the reputation of a fierce competitor from his earliest days in the NBA. One of his first real tests was his first playoff experience against the Clippers, a team that became one of Luka's bigger rivals during his career. In a recent episode of Podcast P, Paul George explained just how big of a competitor Luka is and how his style of talking trash has made him one of the coldest killers in the league.
If you talk to him, he gonna talk that to you. He not backing down, but he a cold killer with some of the that I've heard him say.
George experienced this firsthand when he tried to get in Luka's head during the 2020 NBA playoffs. Those playoffs were Luka's first experience, and he delivered to say the least by averaging 31 points, 9.8 rebounds, and 8.7 assists per game, taking the Clippers to 6 long games. This heroic effort earned Luka a lot of respect from his peers in the league, including Paul George, who thinks very highly of him nowadays.
Not next up, Luka is now. Luka is for real now. We're talking about being the biggest international player now. That's surpassing GOATs. You know what I mean? That's surpassing Dirk. That's surpassing Tony Parker. That's surpassing Hakeem. That's surpassing, he's got a chance to be the biggest international guy, surpassing Giannis in a way.
During a Dallas Mavericks victory over the Memphis Grizzlies, Luka Doncic had another great performance, recording 35 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. Throughout the night, he was trash-talking with defenders that were trying to contain him and also interacting with some of the fans in the FedEx Forum arena. In the second half of the game, Grizzlies wing Vince Williams Jr. played really physical, trying to make it difficult on Doncic, even face-guarding off the ball and picking him up full court. With 24.8 seconds remaining in the game, the Slovenian superstar was called for a technical foul after an interaction with Williams. Doncic described his interactions with Williams as trash talk, but was confused about why he received a technical foul, and the Grizzlies' wing did not.
He was just talking the whole time. I was back. I told him I wish let me play one-on-one. That's when I got attacked. So I don't know if the refs got to just let us talk. It's part of the game. I love it.
Despite cooking him pretty badly, Luka credited Williams for his defensive impact, calling him a great player. There may not be many bigger competitors than Luka Doncic, but if there is one that is undeniably more hardcore than Luka is, that would be the late Kobe Bryant. Luka didn't get to play against Kobe, but he did experience the Black Mamba talking trash to him. In a game between the Los Angeles Lakers and Dallas Mavericks in the Staples Center, Luka heard somebody from the crowd talking trash to him in Slovenian. Luka was confused. Since there are not many Slovenians in the US, Luka looked around to check who it was, and there he saw no one else but the Black Mamba. This shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, considering how often Kobe talked trash to his opponents, and even teammates for that matter. When Luka realized who it was, he smiled and shook Kobe's hand. The two actually knew each other as Doncic spent some time with Kobe in August of 2018 working on his game. Doncic still talks about this experience to this day.
He was talking Slovenian, so I was like, who's talking my language? And I saw Kobe, and I was really surprised.
In a Western Conference matchup between the Minnesota Timberwolves and Dallas Mavericks, Luka Doncic managed to lead the Mavs to a big victory. During the game, Timberwolves big man Rudy had words for Doncic, which the latter addressed after the game.
When you start that, I'm coming back to you.
Talking trash to a scorer like Luka Doncic could have been a recipe for a low-light moment for Rudy. Thankfully for Rudy, there were not many occasions where Luka scored on him, but his words did come back in the form of Doncic's 34-point night. The Mavs' superstar hit 5 three-pointers, adding 8 assists and 6 rebounds during the game. That is probably what you are going to get when you try to trash talk Luka Doncic. Luka has plenty of rivals in the NBA, but the biggest one may be Phoenix Suns guard Devin Booker. The two stars always seem to get into some kind of a scuffle when they play against each other, and their rivalry has gotten a lot of media attention as well. Since Luka is usually ahead of Booker and the Suns, they needed to add some more power, and they did just that when they added Chris Paul to their roster. A very well-known NBA veteran superstar, but also one of the game's most notable trash talkers. Once the two joined forces, they were not letting Luka go at all. Luka's teammate at the time, Reggie Bullock, was asked about the verbal jabs that Doncic was getting from the Suns stars.
I guess it's jabs. That he's a tough player. He's a great player. And, I laugh at it when they try to guard him. You know what I'm saying? But, they want to try to do the same thing him, bring him up in every pick and roll. But, when we get the switch, I know it's a bucket every time. And I don't know about the switches with them to get a bucket every time. But I just know that we're going to back him up. That's our teammate. And he's going to hold us down on the offensive end and give us his best on the defensive end. It's about a team to be able to, take us back and not let nobody talk junk to our superstar.
Reggie Bullock explained the situation greatly, and Devin needs to keep that in mind for the next time he considers talking trash to Luka. Every time he had tried to talk trash to Luka, he has found himself on NBA meme pages. An interesting situation developed on a play during the game between the Mavericks and the Utah Jazz. On a drive to the basket with Chris Dunn guarding him, Luka passed the ball to an open Derrick Jones Jr. Doncic then turned towards Dunn, smiling at him being fooled. Dunn did not take this well and walked towards Doncic with his finger poking Doncic's still smiling face. Both Luka Doncic and Chris Dunn were issued technical fouls following the altercation. The game, being a one-sided affair between the Dallas Mavericks and the Utah Jazz, might have added to the issue Dunn had with Doncic. While discussions with the referee near the reviewing booth, Doncic was heard saying, "I didn't do nothing, he's just mad I'm busting his bro." After that, the referee tried to calm the situation down and asked Doncic if they could shake hands and let it be. To this, Doncic replies, "Oh, hell no." Doncic knew he had gotten into Chris Dunn's head, and the guard was just adding to the taunts with the classic smile. Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving were targeted by NBA villain Dylan Brooks, as he often looks to annoy his opponents before their games against him. Brooks has gained quite the reputation for getting under the skin of his opponents, and he tried to do so with Luka Doncic as well. He mocked Doncic for being injured and later sent a warning to Irving. "I hope Luka gets back for the next game so I can guard him. I didn't get a chance to guard him the first game, and he had a great game, so I want to see where I'm at." Brooks then sent for Irving, with the intention of intimidating the former #1 pick, as he will be all alone out on the court. "Now I get to have him by himself today," Brooks added when speaking about Irving. "I want to see what he's all about, so I can't wait to pick him up full every single time and see him get exhausted." However, Irving didn't retaliate when he was asked about Brooks' comments and instead questioned his maturity. Brooks hopes every best player plays, just because it makes the game a lot better competitive-wise. There's been a lot going on with him, seeing him in the middle of all the Draymond stuff. I mean, it makes it great for our league, but at the same time, there's a maturity that we've got to have. Nothing should go over the line of personal stuff. If we keep it strictly on the floor, but once it gets, you know what it turns into out there. Kyrie responded in a humble manner, but Luka, who was not cleared for both games, seemed to remember this talk from Brooks and made sure to remind him of it the next time they saw each other. In their next matchup, Luka Doncic scorched Dillon Brooks and the Houston Rockets and had himself a 41.9-9 night. There is always more than one option for responding back to trash talk. In a matchup between the Clippers and Mavericks in Game 4 of the NBA playoffs, Patrick Beverley felt cavalier enough to talk trash to Luka Doncic in the first quarter when the latter was at the free throw line. But the Mavs superstar made the foul shot and talked some smack back to Beverley. Doncic, of course, made it known that he will be a nightmare for many years to come by hitting the game-winning three-pointer at the end of overtime in Game 4 to tie the series. He did so despite sustaining a painful sprained ankle that forced him to exit Game 3. Luka also got in some fights with Harrell as well, which made him even more motivated to beat the Clippers. This playoffs performance earned Beverley's respect for Luka. He has always had a very unique perspective of the league, and his takes on some of the players and organizations are quite entertaining. Now playing his 12th NBA season, he is a veteran who spends more time mentoring the young players and appearing on podcasts. A question that Bev was asked in one of his appearances was about the best trash talkers in the NBA. Beverley listed out his top 5 with no hesitation.
Draymond for sure, KD for sure. Low-key, Luka Doncic. Low-key is I'm definitely somewhere up there. Russ. Yeah, Russ up there. Cooler 5.
That is some respect he has for Luka's skills, at least the trash-talking ones. When Luka Doncic engineered a switch in the second half of Denver's rousing win in Dallas on Sunday, the Slovenian megastar got way more than he bargained for. The Mavericks screened Nuggets rookie Christian Braun, so versatile forward Zeke would be Doncic's primary defender. Doncic drove and appeared to have a step on Zeke, but the 6'10" forward challenged from behind. When Zeke swatted Doncic's floater, he naturally celebrated the stop. Doncic, a fierce competitor who was already emotionally charged, took the boast personally, though Zeke said that wasn't his intention. Zeke talked a bit about this encounter after the game. "I'm cooking you," Zeke said of Doncic. He has his little accent. I'm cooking you, you can't stop me." As the third quarter ended, Zeke and Doncic kept barking at each other. I'm like, "What? You haven't scored on me all game. You haven't done anything," Zeke said. What Doncic didn't anticipate or didn't know was that Zeke relishes those chances. "I definitely enjoy guarding the best players," Zeke said. "My mindset is trying to lock them down and stop them." He might have gotten away on that one, as Luka had one of his slower games at the time, finishing with 22 points on a below-average 7-16 shooting and 2 for 8 on three-pointers. Zeke's defense against Luka might have been the main factor in the Nuggets getting the 1-point win over Dallas that night. From watching afar, Steph seems like a pretty laid-back guy who doesn't talk much trash to other players. But in a game between the Warriors and Mavericks, we got to see the other side of Steph. Luka was talking so much trash to his teammates that Steph got fed up. We got to witness Curry's fierce side on none other than Luka Doncic, who went back and forth with the Warriors' guard during the Western Conference Finals. One moment captured on camera was when Doncic called out Curry for missing a free throw and said, "Damn, what's going on, man? You scared?" Curry didn't allow Doncic's words to get to him, and he replied with a simple but savage, "Hey, Luka, would you shut up?" Another time Curry told Luka to shut up was when the latter accused the baby assassin of flopping throughout the game. Doncic even went as far as imitating Curry's shimmy after knocking down a buzzer-beating three-pointer to end a quarter. Ultimately, though, it was Curry who got the last laugh. The Warriors gentlemen swept the Mavericks in the series, heading to their 6th finals appearance, which later turned into another ring to boost Steph's legacy. This was a rare occasion where Luka actually lost a trash-talking battle. Of course, trash-talking has always been part of competitive basketball. At the end of the day, the main goal is to get a competitive edge. And that's what Luka has been trying to do. He always shows sportsmanship after the games, and that's what it is all about. That is part of the reasons why Luka Doncic is one of the most respected basketball players in the modern era.